Live.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to session 2 of this week's Buildtastic, part of National Construction Week. I'm really excited to introduce to you today Norma, Jessie and Samina, all from Wates, one of the building contractors that most of you will know that built Abbygate for us. So a big warm welcome and thank you very much. So now I'm going to hand over to Norma. Thanks, Norma.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name's Norma Dane Hines. I'm the Community Investment Advisor for Wates Construction, who cover the Northern Home Counties area. I'll be introducing my colleague, Samina Chowdhury, who's a Community Investment Advisor for Wates at group level, and Jessie Caldwell, who is our commercial management trainee, who will be able to tell you a bit of a day in life of what their role is involved, and also answer any questions. So I'd like to firstly introduce Samina to you to give you her experience.
Morning, everyone. So thank you, Norma. So my name's Samina. I'm very similar role to Norma, so Community Investment Advisor. I guess what we do. Okay, hopefully you can hear me properly. I'll explain about what we do in the community investment team. I'll probably say no 2 days are the same. And essentially we look at communities and how we can help the communities in the area that we build in. So I work at group level, so that's kind of a lot of strategy setting, but my specific role is to do is to work alongside schools and colleges and do that education piece. So I might look after if anyone would like to do some work experience at Wates, internship opportunities. We also have a mentoring scheme where some employees at Wates may mentor students like yourselves that are in college as well, and kind of other things around kind of really inspiring students into construction. Is that a good intro, Norma, or did you want me to continue?
Samina, what I'm just putting in there the.
Oh, Norma, you're on mute.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I'm chatting away to myself. I said I've just put on the work experience email address on the chat group for everybody so that they can contact you. What would also be good is talk about actually your mentoring program a bit more, and also the internship program, because that might be something that is of interest of the people listening, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So we partner with an organisation called Career Ready and other organisations as well that offer mentoring schemes. But essentially the mentoring programme is a 12-month programme where we will partner up a student who is interested in construction. So you don't need to be studying it. We just look for students that have a keen interest in the field, and we might partner them up with kind of senior members in the organisation or trainees that we already have. And it really is to kind of meet on a monthly basis, provide some guidance around applications, employability, but also kind of what roles there are in construction, because I think one of the main misconceptions are that when you think about construction, you automatically think about the roles like bricklayer or plumber or electrician, and of course there are those sort of roles, but there's so many more. So even roles like Norma and mine, community investment, kind of that corporate social responsibility, you wouldn't really think those exist in construction. So during those mentoring programs, it's really kind of doing a deep dive into, I guess, like the different roles and what would be suited to you, as well as building your employability skills as well.
Thank you, Samina. And can I just ask you one last question before I hand over to Jessie? Why do you actually like your role? What do you get out of it?
I guess what I like about my role is I've had many roles previously. I've probably lost count of how many roles I have had, but I've been in this community investment role for about 2 years now, or coming up to 2 years. And I think what I love about it is just the impact that I guess our team has on communities, and kind of it is a lot about giving back and kind of providing that guidance to students and career opportunities. So I find it I'm really passionate about that, and I feel like it's great to kind of give something back as well.
Thank you, Samina. Still stay on, because we'll have some questions further on.
Of course.
Jess,
see you popping up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse. I am a commercial management trainee with Wates Construction. I've been with the business now for just over 2 years. Yep, it's flown by. So I've worked across 3, maybe 4 projects now, ranging from different prices. So I started out in Stowmarket, quite local, and kind of further on from what Samina said, we take in people to do work experience. So we worked with a lad who went through the different kind of sectors we had on site, and he done some work with me in the surveying side of things. So it was kind of good for him because he wanted to see if he wanted to do construction. And after I think it was 2 weeks of us, he kind of found that, yeah, he did like it, and it was something he went on to then do. So yeah, about placements as well. So I myself have done placements in different sectors of the business. So things like mechanical and electrical, you've got the health and safety, site management. I'm now, due to COVID, currently working from home. However, I'm working on a just shy of £250 million job, which is for the University of Oxford. So it's new for me. What do I do? In short, I basically manage the finances of the construction site. So I value subcontractors' works, I pay subcontractors, I manage costs, I apply to the contractor for payments. Why did I get into construction? To be honest, I never had a dying ambition to join construction. It was more I stumbled into it than anything. I knew at sixth form I wanted to get a university degree. However, I didn't want to come out with 35 grand worth of debt. So I kind of looked to see what I could do, and Wates offer a brilliant scheme, to be honest. Couldn't fault it in any way. So I actually get a paid university degree and I still get paid. So I look at my other friends who are coming out of uni with 35 grand's debt, and I will actually come out with money and a uni degree. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me, and I get a job. Whereas a lot of university people will come out of university, they will see, right, I've got all these degrees, but what do I do now? I'm struggling to find a job. Well, like what I'm at now, I've got a guaranteed job, so it's, yeah, fantastic opportunity. I really would advise it to anyone. So yeah, like I said, I get on the job training, which, yeah, helps my university a lot. Also, I love it. It sounds very corny, but just driving past buildings and saying that building, I had an input into that. Very corny, but yeah, I think it's quite cool. And construction, like, let's be honest, it's never going to die out. It's something we all need. We all need new houses, new buildings, new infrastructure. It's not a dying district, really. Like, it's always going to be there. Where do I see myself progressing? Well, I've already graduated through college with a HNC. This has then kind of helped speed up my university course, so it's now 3 years rather than 4 or 5, I believe. Ideally, I would like to finish my university course in the next 3 years. Also have gained RICS accreditation, which is just chartership, basically. And I'd like in the next year to have been promoted to an assistant quantity surveyor. That would be quite nice. And just kind of more roles and responsibilities on site. I would like to have more of an input into, so what we get is a monthly cost report and we kind of issue it from construction. I'd like to have more of an input into that. I kind of filter into it at the moment, but I don't have my own kind of roles into it. I'd like to do more of that. How do I see the sector diversifying? It's kind of a misconception that construction is predominantly a man's job. It's rubbish. When I joined, the intake, I'm pretty sure, was like not far from a 50-50 split from men to female. So I was shocked to see that. I did not expect so many women, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. And Neve, who can't be here today because of a manic site, she is actually a site manager, and me and her have the complete opposite jobs from what you'd expect if you didn't look into construction. I mean, Neve, who's the female, is running the site and bossing all the men about, and yeah, I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of her. And there's me working, doing the office job. So don't put yourself down to thinking it is a man's job, because it's not true at all. And yeah, in construction, it's very wide and diverse. I mean, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, anything, like, it's a very diverse job. And I think that is about all for me.
Thanks very much, Jess. Thank you. What I'm going to ask Samina, I don't know if you're able to kind of just run through the website, the Wates Early Careers website, and where they can apply and register their interest. Do you have that open at all for us while I just manage? Is that okay? Because we've had quite a few questions around, of course, sustainability and the environment. And Lewis, I can advise you that we do, within Samina's team, actually, there is an environmental and there's a sustainability trainee as well. So the roles within the sector are opening up for apprenticeship opportunities. Jess, of course, is commercial, so he's actually on site, and the other roles, of course, are a bit more group level. But Samina will be able to actually share her screen and sort of tell us about those shortly.
Of course, so I'll share my screen now. Have a look. Hopefully you can see this.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Thank you, Samina.
So this is kind of, as soon as you go onto our website, wates.co.uk, you'll see kind of a bit of blurb about what we do. But to get onto, I guess, the early careers pages, you go into careers, early careers, and here you'll see what our where our opportunities are. And if you, at the moment, they're not open, but the early careers team have made us aware that our roles are more than likely opening in 2 to 3 weeks' time. But for the moment, we're encouraging all students that are interested just to register their interest just by clicking on here. I think it just asks you for a few details, contact details, what you're interested in. And then when we do go live, you'll get an email kind of saying our roles are now live, please come on and apply. Sorry, I should have closed my emails. and then over just on the top bar here, it kind of talks about higher and degree apprenticeships, level 2 and 3 apprenticeship programs. And then I don't know if we've got any graduates on, but yeah, if you were a graduate, we've got kind of our graduate programs here and our year out programs. And Jesse, I think Jesse started on his H&C course, which is a level 4. I think Jesse came straight from school, I don't know. But he would have applied for the higher and degree apprenticeship programs. And these are our management trainee opportunities. And there are a range here. And it gives you an idea about what we recruit for. So starting with kind of bid management trainee, so pre-construction. So that's right at the beginning stage of construction where you're kind of putting in for a bid for a project. Building services management trainees. So very much looking at kind of the heating, the lighting side of the building. Business management trainee, that is more of a business focused trainee program. So it's working specifically for one of our business units, Wates Property Services, and it's a rotational program. So essentially you may do like, I think it's 6 months in working in a commercial team, then 6 months working in kind of site management, but then you'll also do kind of business focused placement. So you might do like an IT placement. You might do like a finance placement as well. So it very much is to get a kind of all-rounded view of that business unit and eventually become like a project manager. Quantity surveying management trainee. So that's what Jesse is, a commercial at Wates we call it a commercial management trainee, and he told you a bit about what he does. Estimating management trainee as well. So it says here they play a pivotal role within pre-construction and are responsible for estimating the costs of a building project. Planning management trainee, so again, that's more on the operation side. They will map the steps of a construction project as well. And also site management trainee, so they're very much on site every day. So if Neve was here, that's kind of what she does as well. So they're the roles that we had last year and likely to have again this year. But yeah, as I said, there are some entry criteria. Generally, it's kind of the programs are 5 GCSE grades or 4 to 9, including kind of that pass grades in maths and English as well.
Thank you, Samina. So I'm hoping everybody has got down that website and will be able to actually go and register their interest so that they get the alert for when the opportunities go live, which will be shortly, to be honest, because we start recruiting this year around October, which we're in now. So it'll be in the next couple of weeks for next year's intake. I have a few questions, so I'm going to ask Jessie first. I've got a question, and then they asked, would you change anything if you had your time again?
Yeah, so kind of what Samina said there about when you should apply. I wish I was more organised because I wasn't. And I went to sixth form and basically got my grades from sixth form and then applied to Wates. Had I been organised and smart, I would have applied after I finished high school, and I would have saved myself 2 years of my life. But we can't go back in time. So if I could advise something, I would advise to start looking sooner rather than later.
And we've got another question. I'm going to ask you again, Jess, but Samina, of course, you might follow up on it. It's from Jem. What are the key personal skills that you look for in an applicant? So literally, while Samina might be able to tell you a bit more about this, what do you think got you through that whole application process, Jess?
Luck. Obviously, it's a lot of social skills. I mean, aside from grades, they're not just going to look at your grades, because you could be the smartest cookie in the bunch, but if you don't want to talk to people and you're not physically passionate about what you do, then there's no point in really going for it. If you don't see yourself enjoying it, then they're not really going to take you on. It was assessed on a lot of different things, and I can definitely say there was much smarter people out there than me. But I think because I'd done a lot of research beforehand into it, I went in there with a passion that I wanted this job and I was going to get it. I kind of had a lot more of a chance of doing it. And although I came out of it thinking, my God, there's no way I've got that at all, no way at all. And I randomly get a phone call in the gym saying you've got that. And I was like, how on earth did I do that? But honestly, I would say it is assessed a lot more fair than you think. Like, it's not just done by grades at all. It's done by a broad range of things. And if you show a passion for it and you do your research into it, you're already one step ahead of a lot of other people in the game, to be honest with you.
And if you don't mind me just asking just briefly, it was what do you think from the process? Did you come away from the whole interaction with Wates when you were applying and think, oh my gosh, these people, my competitors are just so, they're graduates, they're etc. Because of course you came out with just your A levels, and it's not just your A levels, but of course there's that difference. How did you feel? Because of course age-wise as well, the maturity of you compared to some of the other applicants would have been different.
I came out of it thinking like, my God, like Leatherhead, where you actually go to, is like the other end of the world for me. So I kind of went there and I left very disheartened, to be honest. But that wasn't on anybody else but myself, because I put myself down. I really don't think you should. You have a lot of different entry points and you're assessed with people of different ages and levels. But yeah, like you've got to consider it. Like, I may be a lot younger than a lot of other people, but then Wates will look at that as I've got a lot more potential, because whereas somebody's got 5 years more experience than me, they could have been taught 5 years the wrong thing or 5 years in a different kind of industry, whereas Wates then have 5 years to teach me exactly how they want me to operate. So yeah, I mean, kind of what I said, don't put yourself down. Like, if you're going to go for it, do it properly, because you obviously live the other side of the world from Leatherhead as well. So if you're going to apply, make sure you do it properly and make sure you do your research. But yeah, I mean, like, I think even things like, so a lot of people there kind of question things like, oh, so how much money are we getting paid and things like that. And where other people question that, I think Samina was actually there on my kind of interview day, and I turned around and said, like, well, if you guys had read, like, it says the entry point kind of wages of this, and I think that's something that kind of surprised Samina and the other people there, to kind of see that rather than me asking questions, I've kind of done my own research into it, and I'm informing the other group. And yeah, like I said, I'm far from the smartest cookie in the bunch, but if you do your research into it and you're passionate about what you do, you will stand much more of a chance than anybody else in that room at the time.
Thank you, Jess. I totally agree. I've seen you come along in confidence, leaps and bounds from day one when I met you at one of our briefings. So it's been great to watch you mature, shall I say. But you know your job, and that's the key thing. And you've been very helpful to me. So Samina, what skills do you think people need to demonstrate? If you don't mind asking you.
Jessie, that was such a great answer. I definitely think everyone needs to do their basics before they come to do the interview or the assessment centre. So absolutely, research is key. So before I was a community investment advisor, I was the early careers recruiter. So I used to recruit a lot of our apprentices, and I used to interview, and I designed the assessment centre. And it's not exactly what Jessie said, actually. We're not really looking at your grades. So we have entry requirements because we have to put you through an apprenticeship programme, a degree apprenticeship programme, and then the colleges and universities have those entry requirements. But what Wates are really looking for are the key behaviours. So things like, can you work well in a team? Are you commercially focused? Those sort of things. So actually it's very much is based on your kind of behaviours and how you act on the day. So key things like doing your research. If a candidate hasn't done their research on Wates or the scheme, I think one of the questions are, why did you apply for the scheme, or what do you know about the scheme? And if you can't answer that, it just shows that actually, but compared to another student who has done their research, and it's kind of that shows that they're really passionate and really wanting the job. It just means that you'll just get marked down for those simple questions.
Do you also, Samina, sorry, can I just cut in? Do you also look at what they do outside of the normal day? So say Jess came straight from school, didn't do any outside activities apart from school and home. He might have played rugby and stuff like that. Do you actually also take into consideration anything that they've done that's voluntary, stuff like that?
Yeah, so things like maybe you've done your work experience on a construction site, and if you've kind of got that off your own back, or you might have kind of done a site visit, or even if you've done anything voluntary. What we do ask at kind of interview questions are kind of scenario-based questions, and it's always good to have a range of examples. So it's great that you might have them from kind of your school, working in a team, but if you can also kind of shape those questions around, actually, I'm part of a football team, and those sort of things, they're kind of the things that we are looking for, and will also kind of show your range as well.
Okay, and I've got a question from Sasha based on that, because of course you've done the assessment day, Samina, so sorry, I have to ask you that. Do you get advice on the assessment days if you are not doing well?
I would say that, so in our assessment day, we may have changed, but we have an interview, a group exercise, and a presentation. And we will say to the assessors on the day to not give the students advice if they're not doing well, because we don't want to dishearten them. But they may give you pointers or just general advice on the day. But yeah, we always say, if you don't feel like you've done well on one section, it doesn't matter. There's 2 other sessions where you can kind of show how you perform.
Okay, thank you.
I can jump in there and add a bit more if you want.
Yes, please, Jess.
So kind of my experience, kind of sitting the other side of the table from Samina on this one. So when I went in, I think when I done it, it was done on 3. It was done on a group activity, it was done on a individual activity, and it's done on a one-on-one interview. So the group exercise you do, I think that was one which kind of disheartened me a little bit, because that's when you're paired with the people that you think, these kids are brainiacs, these kids are going to smash it. And you also see a lot of other people. I remember one other person who's in the company now, she did not stop talking. I was like, oh my God, I can't even find anything. I can't even get a word in sideways. What am I expected to do here? But yeah, just don't, it's all about quality rather than quantity. I can sit there and talk for 2 hours, but not a single word of it can mean anything. So yeah, don't be disheartened about that. And also, you kind of thrive off your peers a lot more than what you'd think. And if your peer says one thing, you can pick up 2 more things from it. And then the personal task thing, you didn't actually say anything. It was more kind of an exercise on your own. So I was quite all right with that, because I don't know, I'm kind of an introvert. I've grown a lot since then. So I didn't really like talking to people or kind of coming out of my box. So I kind of think I've done well on that task. And then the interview, the one-on-one interview, I can't even explain how much I was, shy for that and everything. It just wasn't good for me. But then going into it, I can't thank Wates enough for it, because the interviewer I got, he didn't say you're doing bad or anything like that. He's like, you're doing brilliantly. Like, I can understand you're shy, and I honestly would be too. But you're doing brilliantly. Just keep talking. And there's a lot of things where he would ask me a question, and I either wouldn't understand it to the full extent, or I would talk about something and he would kind of pry out more information. So kind of previous work or stuff, or for example, I think it's NCS I done, because I was signed up to that, but the parents kicked out into it. That's fun. But no, honestly, it's brilliant. NCS, it kind of gave me a little bit into, it was kind of learning about like university and things like that, and also it gives you charitable experience as well. So you do something for charity. That was brilliant because it gives you something to talk about. And honestly, charity things, like, as well as you're helping out for the community and everything else, it's also a brilliant thing for you to talk about, and I cannot recommend it enough. But yeah, my interview on the day was kind of, he would pick something that I've kind of said, and he would pluck at it to elaborate more on it and get as much out as I could. So yeah, like, obviously do a lot of research into it, do a lot of planning, but don't think these interviewers are out to get you, because they're really not. They are looking to find more recruits for Wates just as much as you're looking for a job at Wates. So as long as you go in with all the right prep and you want the job, then yeah, you're going to do well.
Okay, that's really good, and it leads on quite nicely to some of the other questions that are flowing in. So I'm going to ask you, especially Jess, I think, again, is how do Wates look after their staff? E.g., a lot of companies have gym memberships, etc. And I can say, yes, we do have discount memberships, but I'm sure Jess will be, as a, I would say, relative young person coming into the industry, can kind of give you that overview of where he got some benefits.
Well, Wates do a lot of things. I've seen, it's unfortunate for me because I live in the sticks in the middle of nowhere, so my gym kind of doesn't really partner with anything, but Wates do have a benefits scheme, and you get a lot of discounts and stuff through it. I think Pure Gym might be one of them. My closest one is 1,001 miles away, so I don't actually get anything through them. It's unfortunate, but yeah, they do things, and especially things, I think I saw not so long ago, it's like health weeks, and I think at the moment we're actually in a gym or a get out and do stuff week, aren't we, Norma? I think you sent something out to me.
Yes, we are.
And yeah, Wates do partner with and do stuff for the gyms. I can't say that my gym's partnered with them, unfortunately. However, because I'm a student through Wates, I am claiming a student membership, which is fantastic. But aside from that, yeah, like your mileage and stuff, they pay for all of that, which is brilliant, because I wouldn't even want to start to pay for the miles I used to do. Obviously, I'm working from home now. And you also get, I think you get a lot of Wates kind of employment benefits. So I think you get, I think it's 6% of my pension that Wates contribute to, which is excellent, because a lot of other companies don't contribute anything. I think I get life insurance. Hopefully I'm not going to kick the bucket, but just in case, what other stuff? You get £250 a year to spend, so I can get things like, I already get healthcare through the company, which is excellent. You can get private healthcare, you can get insurances, you can pretty much do whatever you want with the £250. I can't go through all the things because there's an endless amount of things. Much like you students probably have uni days, we also have a company kind of platform where we get a lot of things, which is excellent because you can use it in conjunction with uni days if you're a student. So just saying that.
Thank you, Jess. I think they've got a good idea of that we actually do invest back into our peoples and individuals, not just the people that are on site, but everybody else as well. So that's quite good. I've had another question around how are Wates using digital technology in their projects, and that's from Joe. And because you're on site, I'll let you catch up, but I know Samina's been doing a lot around virtual stuff, engagement pieces, so maybe she can cover that afterwards.
Yep, no worries. So kind of with the new age and era in construction, a lot of the old folks aren't too pleased about it, and they've had to rely on a lot of the younger people like myself and Neve. So something we're kind of adopting at the moment, so something I think is very good, is we operate a stop and go system, whereby it's an app which everyone has on site, so all the subcontractors and ourselves. And we are advised and told basically to go out on site, even myself, who kind of primarily work in the office, I go out on site every single Friday and I'll report anything. So a stop is something, if I was to look at it, A stop is something which could potentially cause a hazard or is a hazard in itself. So trip hazards, wires, things like that, I'd report. And a go is something which I can see which we're doing well. So, for example, well-managed access routes and things like that, because this all feeds back to the site management, and it kind of shows them what they're doing good rather than what they're doing bad. It's kind of a nice intermediate. We then also have field view tools, which is so useful, especially in my role. It basically allows people, so it uses all of the drawings and kind of the architectural plans that we get. And if I was to go out on site, so a defect is something which isn't up to the specified standard. So I don't know, if somebody had smashed into a wall with a ladder, this would be a defect. I could then take a picture on the iPad using the field view tools. I could then highlight the area in which the floor plans is. I can then leave a note saying so-and-so has damaged this. And it kind of gives us something to pick up on, but not also pick up on. It's kind of something that remains there. So we can go back each week and say, has this been done? No. Why has it not been? And it also goes out to the subcontractor, which is good, especially if they use the field view tools. And especially during COVID, when we've been working at homes. So a lot of things we do. So with Oxford, for example, we can use, I think it's QR scanning codes, and it's basically, we can all do it in a meeting, and it will take us through basically a virtual tour of the building, which is excellent because we can't be there, and also there's not a building there at the moment. So it works quite well, and especially how we've developed in such a short period of time to kind of overcome kind of the things that were never expected, like COVID. But yeah, that's worked really well, and a lot of the bid team have been using that recently. But I'll allow Samir to take over from here.
Thanks, Jessie.
Yeah, so like Jessie mentioned, we've definitely started building our portfolio of virtual materials and videos. So you might have already seen some of those that we've developed. But virtual site tours in place of actual physical site tours because of COVID, so kind of filming those. And kind of school engagement wise, it was trying to turn things around really quickly for our community investment team, because we may go out and deliver like classroom sessions, workshop sessions or work experience, but in actual school face-to-face, but obviously schools were closed and because of COVID, so it was doing it like a quick turnaround and being able to offer them virtually. So we do offer virtual work experience placements now as well as kind of virtual insight days and things like that.
Thank you so much. And there is another great one that I've got here, and I'm going to go. What advice, other than do your research, would you recommend to anybody wishing to start out in their career in construction? So that's going to be to both of you as well, please.
I'd probably say just to absolutely be yourself on the day. I know that sounds really cringe and cheesy, but it is something that we are really looking for. And there are obviously things that everyone should know when they're doing interviews or group exercises. So things that we as assessors look out for is like in the group exercise, for example, like Jessie said, there might be someone that's talking non-stop, but actually is what they're saying relevant and is it making sense? So it's kind of those things. So it's not always trying to be the leader. It's actually kind of sitting back, and maybe someone doesn't say as much, but what they actually really are saying is really relevant. So it's small things like that. It's kind of making sure that even as you go in, we had one instance in our Leatherhead office where a student came in, parked in our car park, but I think the barriers weren't opening. And I think she got really rude to our receptionist. And obviously that got fed back to us, and it just didn't put the candidate in the best light. So it's just making sure that actually throughout that whole experience, that whole day, that you're kind of making sure that you're friendly to everyone, you're smiling at everyone, and you're not kind of having those like awkward interactions with people, because it does get fed back to us as well. But absolutely things like planning for your kind of answers. So typical interview questions that you're always going to get asked is, why did you apply for this role? What interests you in construction? Like, if you can plan for those as much as possible, it will really just help you on the day. Don't be afraid to like take notes with you as well, because that also just shows the assessor that actually, you know, you've actually planned and you've done some like research on your own time, that you kind of brought those in with you as well. So don't just wing it, basically.
Thanks,
and
Amina.
there's loads of ways that you can kind of prepare for the day.
Thank you. Jesse?
So I think starting from, and this can obviously be done from a school or college side as well as the students, something that was never really offered in my school, but I've seen it offered in a lot of others, is kind of interview assessment, or not such assessments, but mocks. And I think they're really important because I never had anything like that during high school or sixth form or anything. And you feel a lot more comfortable around your teachers than what you would with a random person you've never seen before. So if you can sit down with a teacher, or if your teacher's getting somebody that's new to you, then that's probably even better. But at least they can then start to pick out things, and they're not judging you. It's kind of a mock, but at least it's kind of the same process, and they can start to extract the things which they can see you can improve on. I feel like that would be really important. And like Samina said about the notes, with living the other side of the world from Leatherhead, I took my notes on the train with me. So my very scruffy notes, but I kind of read through them lots on the train because I had a lot of spare time to do so. And I feel like that really helped me because my brain is like a sieve in honesty. So doing it the morning before and also I think before I was called into the interviews, I was sat there doing it and reading through them, which meant it was fresh in my mind, which is really good. And also, like Samina said, just make sure you're communicating with your peers and talking to them. Like it's not a competition between any of you. Like it is essentially, but it's not. Like if you treat it like a competition, you're not going to get the job. Like you have to show that you can work with people, because in construction, if you try to be a one-man army, you're really going to struggle. I can tell you that now. So yeah, just work well with the team. I mean, it's a group exercise. You're all working to get the answer. I mean, maybe in your individual one, try hard and do your own work, but in the group one, just work well with people and show your communication and your communication skills, because it definitely helps.
And what I would say, Matt, sorry, Samina, I'll come back to you shortly, is get out there, build your network within the sector. So go and do work experience. I put up the work experience email address, and I will put it up again. I think by getting that exposure, you're going to go into an interview and be able to talk about things like Jess said, with some passion and expertise. Regardless of the level of that expertise, you'll be able to start that flow of conversation. And work experience, it could be as minimal as 1 day to 5 days. Just being able to build a network of people that will actually, who you can go back to and probably also use as a mentor going forward, is going to be key. So sorry, Samina.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Jessie was saying. I'd probably say absolutely do not treat assessment centres like competition. I mentioned before, one of the things that we look for is working as a team. So if you're like looking at the person sitting next to you as a competitor, it's not gonna it's not going to gain you any more points. Our assessment centres especially, you're not actually going up against like the people that are there. So I think we have around maximum of 12 candidates come to our assessment centres, and we don't have like a number in our head about how many we're going to recruit. So generally we have like a pass mark, and if you pass the pass mark, you're going to get offered, and if you don't pass it, it means that we can't offer you. Maybe able to offer you other opportunities, but not on our scheme. And essentially, yeah, you're not going up against each other at all, and I think that's a bit of a misconception that people have around assessment centres. The other thing I was going to say is kind of exactly what Norma said. Work experience, especially construction related, will definitely work in your favour if you're able to kind of demonstrate that in your answers, but also think about like transferable skills that you might have. So things like if you work part-time, I think I worked part-time like in a retail in Asda, and in my first job I kind of brought up a lot of examples about customer service and things like that, and that really helped me get my first like proper office job. But it's thinking about like the transferable skills that you might have as well.
Thank you. I have to just give you a bit of feedback in case you're not reading the comments box, which I said I would demand. They're saying you're providing really valuable information, giving them an insight to thinking about the different opportunities and roles, which I think is what this session is all about. So thank you, guys. We're not finished yet because somebody actually has posed a good question, which is Joel. And it said, we looked at robots constructing the first UK house yesterday. So did I, actually, with Joe. Will robots replace people on sites? Is this something that you think will happen? So it's quite open, and it's your opinion. So feel free.
Yeah, it's something I've looked at as well, especially in college and stuff. But it's something I've heard from friends as well. Like, your job is going to get taken over by robots, and maybe in hundreds and hundreds of years potentially. But at the moment, it's just, if you look at them robots, how much does it actually cost to implement them robots? How much can you move these robots about? So on and so forth. Like, and also the robots have to be programmed by people. So if these robots are going to be implemented, it's going to have to be done so with a lot of kind of input from all of us in our job roles more than anything. I personally don't see it being a feasible option, because a lot of stuff we do as well is bespoke. It's one-time stuff, like especially with our University of Oxford, they are so outrageously over the top that the stuff that they're doing has never been seen before. Our subcontractors are mind blown by it and don't know how they're even going to do it yet. So to program this into a robot to be able to do, it's just, I don't think it's possible within, especially my lifetime, and maybe even a couple of lifetimes. So, and things like health and safety, I hear a lot, oh, health and safety is going to become a robot's job soon. It's good luck to a robot trying to tell people, because people struggle to do it themselves. So good luck with that one. But yeah, to answer your question, I personally do not think. I think a lot of robots will assist humans in doing their jobs. We've seen, for example, the painting. We no longer use a paintbrush anymore. Well, in some cases we do, but you see a machine that a person will hold and it will spray it everywhere. Plaster, and we've now seen that we can spray plaster. But even things like the climate, in the UK, we struggle to spray plaster because it's just not hot enough. And it also needs to not rain and screed and everything. There's a lot of things that input, and even if we got robots to do it in one country, you've then got to think about the climates in the country, also importing them to and from. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it that people don't think about, and it's also the same as saying any job can be done by a robot. But I just don't think, within my lifetime especially, I don't think it's happening.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Ooh, I think we might have lost Amina, but hopefully she'll come back. And I think your answers are very true. We do have to consider a lot of things around technology before we can implement it. If it's a standardised build, maybe yes. But as you said, our things are very bespoke. Our briefs that we receive from the clients are very bespoke. Samina, are you still with us?
Yeah, I think that was a really good example of technology going wrong. Yeah, I don't think my camera's working, but hopefully you can hear me. Completely agree with what kind of Jessie and Norma were saying, especially with kind of our roles. We're very much like customer facing, client facing. A lot of what we do is about building relationships as well. And yeah, you're not going to be able to do that if you're a robot. So yeah, I agree. There's probably things around assisting our roles, and our roles may change, but it's not going to take over our roles. Definitely not.
And this is another question. It's from Bella. Have you seen roles develop and change over the last few years? I'm sure, Jessie, because you're new in, you probably didn't have any perception of what the roles were to begin with. So it might be a good one for you to kind of see some of the new ones that you've heard about. And then, of course, Samina and I will answer afterwards.
Yep. So myself, everything's new. So everything is a change for me. But speaking to, the first job I worked on was with some really knowledgeable people. They've been with the company for double my lifetime. So they've been with the company for a long time. And one thing they've always said was, every day in construction is a new learning day. No 2 days are the same. And there's always, there's always different ways to do things, like building brick lift shafts, for example. We previously used to do this with brick and block work. However, now we're doing a lot of precast. So we will basically build this lift shaft like it's some kind of Lego thing, just get in a big crane and build it block by block. A lot of flooring now we will get kind of made in factories and stuff and then shipped over. And this is kind of helping us on a health and safety point of the table, because we've not got, several deliveries coming a day. We've not got 25 people working on site every day to achieve the same thing, which we could get done in an office environment. which has less waste. It's got better health and safety in place. And also, it's not really something we have to do on site. When you bring it to site, you've then got all the different interfaces that kind of go in with it. But yeah, I mean, even my time in construction, I can say that I'm seeing things changing. And also job to job, nothing is the same. Like my first job is the current same, like, what's the word? Like kind of financial budget as a singular package that I'm managing on the New Oxford job. So you can kind of see the differences between them. There's a lot of new things every day. Yeah,
thanks. Samina?
So I would definitely echo again what Jessie was saying, and just generally in kind of the sector that I work in, I'm definitely seeing an increase in roles around community investment, social value, diversity and inclusion, sustainability, environment, especially in the well-being, especially in the construction sector. And I think it is because of kind of that increased awareness of how important these roles are as well. Good opportunities to get into kind of that, I guess, corporate social responsibility sector too.
Thank you, guys. Like Samina, I work in the same sort of area, and I do think there's been a massive change way people think. I think youngsters, of course, and Jessie mentioned this earlier, bring along the technical side, because we've introduced a lot more technical stuff for our site managers and teams on site to use, and sometimes it's the youngsters that are bringing us along, shall I say, with knowing how to use them. Most sites have iPads because they use field tools, which is a way of managing reporting whilst you're out there constantly seeing what they can do better. So I think there's a lot going on. I hear a lot talk about tendering for jobs. What does this mean? Okay, I've had a question about tendering. So somebody says, I hear a lot about talking about tendering for jobs. What does that mean, Jessie?
Sorry, there's a lot of kind of construction terms I'll use which a lot of people won't understand, so feel free to drop them and I'll explain them. Tendering is basically when we have a package, so your construction site, you may look at it as a building. We look at it as 36 different packages. You've got your screeding, you've got the structural frame, you've got the groundwork, so on and so forth. If you take a package, so we'll take screed, for example, so to tender would be to send out all the documents, the drawings, everything, and receive back a price, in essence. And the people who are tendering are tenderies or tendees, and they basically then send back the prices. But yeah, so there's a lot of construction terminology I use, and 2 years ago I wouldn't have had a clue. It was all foreign language to me, but now I've kind of adapted and I speak in a lot of construction terminology and slang.
No, perfectly fine. And of course, Jess, you would have been placed in the bid team. And once again, that's a massive bit of tendering. You know, you were tendering for a project. You're tendering to win that build because we are the main contractors. And I've got one last question I want to ask because I've seen Debbie come on. So I think it's nearly time. And I've kept this question just to the end. And I think it was Elsa. And it was, where do you see your roles going? Where do you see progressing to in the sector, Samina and Jessie?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I mentioned before that I'm quite new into community investment, but but what I essentially see my job progressing into is so you're never too young to stop learning. So I'm actually enrolling onto a project management course. So hopefully that will give me the skills to kind of go into that next level of leadership as well. So doing an apprenticeship program myself as well soon.
Thanks, Mina. Jessie?
So yeah, I'd kind of like to work myself up through the rankings and potentially become a commercial manager, something that, well, my manager is at the moment. And yeah, change the job a lot rather than kind of working on one particular job. You kind of work to oversee a group of jobs, but this is quite a leap. I've got quite a way to go, but I think, yeah, I mean, especially being young, I've got a lot of IT skills and things which kind of the older folks may struggle in. So it may not be impossible, and hopefully I may make it there one day.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, Jessie. I'm sure you know some of our directors started off doing on the trade, doing carpentry, and now are regional directors for business units within Wates. So the sky's the limit as long as you work hard and put the hard cool work into it. So I'm going to say thank you to both of you, and I'm sure I'm going to hand it back over to Debbie now.
Well, what can I say, Jessie? You're a star on the internet. Samina, you too. Thank you so, so much. I think what the pair of you have done today for us has been absolutely awesome. You've been warm, you've been friendly, you've been honest, and you're talking about your job roles that are, you know, you're both very, very passionate about. But to say to people, you know, you've all got that opportunity, so go for it. So on behalf of West Suffolk College, the staff, the students, and everybody out there virtually, can I say a very warm thank you to Norma, a great advocate of West Suffolk College. She's been with us a long time through lots of different projects. Thank you so much, Norma, for bringing along Samina and Jessie today. I think, you know, that youth bit and that young bit and that the different experiences that the pair of them have had will really sink in and hit home. And some of the questions, guys, that I've seen coming up that you've asked have been absolutely brilliant. So thank you for taking your part today. And on that note, I'm going to wish you all well. Stay safe with your families, and enjoy working from home in these unprecedented times, really. But thank you very much, Jessie, Samina, Norma, all from Wates. Thank you to our Wates team. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. There's some brilliant questions.